Add to stage. There we go. Now we on. There we go, Carolyn. We cooking now. All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon. We're back on again for the Green Table Talk show, and we're just excited to be with you this afternoon. So, if you're just joining us, if you are watching the replay, please share this live stream with someone that you know that can help. Please share this stream with a friend, with a family member. Just share it. I think it'd be helpful. I think tonight we have a great show for you. As Kayla, our admissions director, and myself, the transportation director, will be on today to share with you some things you may not know that go on behind the scenes in transportation and in the admission process. I think we have a great show for you tonight. So please share it. Thank you for coming on. Drop us a comment in the chat box there, in the comment box as you're coming on, and we'll greatly appreciate any shares and any comments and suggestions as we go on. And just to get us started as you're viewing this, I want to hear from you all. What are some things that you all have seen or questions that you may have when it comes down to transportation, when it comes down to a loved one or for a senior? What are some questions you may have, some things you may have seen in the industry that you may have questions about? And I think, Kelly, you have anything you want to ask the viewers to drop in the chat with us as we're getting ready to go live, as we get ready to get into the show?
Well, from my end, something about getting admitted into a senior care facility or some type of group home, day program, day center. Just drop some questions on what you may have about getting senior care.
Yeah, and there are lots of questions out there. So we're gonna, as people are coming on, we're gonna go ahead and get started. And you know what? We're gonna drop some questions out there, put some information out there for our viewers this afternoon. And if you like, say, if you have a question or something that comes up in transportation that you have a question about, or something that comes up in an admission process for a loved one, you know what? Drop it in the comment. Let us know that you're watching us. Let us know that you're tuned in with us. We greatly appreciate the shares and the likes, as it helps us. It helps others find us. It helps the Facebook algorithm push us out there into the ethos and helps us get seen by more people who may need the service or who may need the information. So we're going to jump into this as we got some people coming on with us now. We appreciate you all coming on live with us. Good afternoon again. This is Lee Wright. This is Caleb Bowens, our co-host this afternoon. And so just as we get started, Caleb, I just want to just kind of say, people kind of sometimes confuse or don't see the things that go on behind the scenes in transportation. We are almost like an air hub, like an airport. Like this is like mission control, like behind the scenes, like all the logistical things that takes place just to get somebody from their home to the door day center. I mean, I'm looking at multiple vans, 12 plus vans. I'm looking at multiple routes. I'm looking at multiple drivers, multiple stops. I have time constraints we have to meet based off of Medicaid. We got wheelchair clients. We got buses and vans with certain capacities on them. We have to put this all together each and every day to make sure clients get from point A to point B. And it starts there, but it doesn't end there. I think one of the things that sometimes people don't see that goes on behind the scene is that when your job is to help get people into the center, and my job is to help make sure that we get people from their homes into the center safely. And sometimes people miss the fact that care starts at the transportation. I think a lot of times it's a good indicator if people see that when we come out to the home, if our drivers are dressed professionally, if they're communicating professionally, if they make their loved one feel like they're in good hands, they feel trusted, they feel like they're in safe, professional people that know what they're doing, and they see that level of professionalism, it already starts to send the message or communicate that their loved one is in good hands. Yes. And I think that's where the care starts, that peace of mind that, they pulled up there in their dress profession, the van looks presentable, the individual is knowledgeable, they know what they're doing. And I think that's where it starts. It's not Uber, and because, sometimes you're just picking them up and taking them to so-and-so, but no, our drivers have to go through training on the back end of how to escort members door to door, to make sure that it's safe. We also go through rigorous training on how to properly secure the wheelchairs. The National Transportation Safety Administration lets us know that most incidents and accidents, you wouldn't believe this, but most accidents and incidents happen in the wheelchair securement. And that could be where someone's not properly secured and the chair moves, or the member doesn't have on the proper lap belt and shoulder restraints, and they fall out of the chair when the van comes to a stop. So there are a lot of things that go on behind the scene to ensure that our clients are transported from point A to point B safely. But it's the logistics of it. Sometimes I feel like an air traffic controller, I'm pointing here, pointing there, and as a dispatcher, that kind of thing. And then, we also have the logistic parts of getting people on schedule, getting people, having them picked up on time. And that also sends a communication out to our clients that, they're respectful of our time. I'm gonna say one more thing. I'm gonna jump in.
I was gonna ask a question.
Oh, sure.
So, I know you talked about adding new drivers, adding vehicles. So that lets me know that the need for the transportation is on the rise. It's there.
Yes.
So, like, where are we taking these clients? Like, where are they going? Like, are they just going to, go run the errands at Walmart? Are they going on trips out of town? Like, where are they going? Where are we taking them?
Great question. So it's not like Uber where you can just, get a transport from home to a grocery store or to Harvey's or Walmart or whatever have you in your community. Our transportation is more so set up where we're doing non-emergency medical transport. So you may see the acronym NEMT, and it just stands for non-emergency medical transport. And so basically what that means is when we're transporting someone from point A to point B, we're transporting them from their home to a medical facility or a medical appointment. And that can be dialysis, that can be anything from a doctor appointment, a follow-up, to a clinic, to therapy. But we mainly specialize in transporting our members from their home to the adult day centers. We feel like that's where that meets our niche, that meets what we do well. And so we try to, and it's very consistent. And we operate within a 45-mile radius of the center. Mm-hmm. So when I talk about logistically trying to put everything together, we may serve 4 or 5 counties that service where the center is. So we're going routes in different directions. We're going to different places because the whole goal of it is, one other thing is to make sure our clients are not on the van on time. Mm-hmm. We don't want people riding the van 5, 3, and 4 hours. And I think in the infancy of the company, one thing that we saw that was a problem was that sometimes people would get on the vans and they would get picked up by, public transit or whatever have you. And they would ride from the doctor appointment or from the adult day center and drop off somebody at the doctor appointment. Mm-hmm. And then they would drop somebody else at home. And then they would go by the dialysis clinic and pick them up. And before you know it, the individual's been on the van 3 and 4 hours. I mean, my God, I don't like to ride that long. I got to go to the bathroom, something. My goodness. So, I need to stretch my legs or something, but to have to sit on the van 3-4 hours is just not, it's not realistic for our seniors and for our members with disabilities. We want to put them in comfortable position. We want to put them in positions that their family can feel like, hey, I'm a priority here. This is not, we're going to Atlanta and then you're going to lay over in Orlando, then you're going to fly down to Miami, then you're going to lay over in Miami, and then you're going to fly on down to the Bahamas, wherever you're going, I'll say. But we're doing, when I talk about the airport and people can understand that we're doing point A to point B. We're not layovers in Denver and layovers in Sacramento before you get over to where you're going. So it's streamlined. And I think that's something that our clients love to know. You said some really good, that's a really good question there. I think the last thing though that I was going to point out is that just, in transportation, when it comes down to that non-emergency medical transport, sometimes people can get it confused. And like I say, it's not Uber, because if you ever use Uber, have you used Uber before?
I love Uber.
Uber, Lyft, we're fans. Uber, don't look. We're fans. We are fans. But if you ever use that service, and it's a great service. But here's the thing: when it comes down to a senior, or when it comes down to my mom or to a dad, they're not going to be able to get out of the house in some instances, in 5 minutes. You know anything about Uber, when they see that notification, hey, your drivers are pulling up, you got about 5 minutes to get out to that car, or they're going to leave you, right? They're going to take off. They got somewhere else to be. Yes. And so for us, we want to make sure we wait at least a minimum of 15 minutes with our clients. Now, we don't want them to be 15 minutes late, but if it takes that, we will do that because we want them to feel like they are a priority. We want them to make sure they know that, we're going to be patient. We're going to be compassionate. We're going to be considerate. We want to make sure that, that family knows that sometimes mom just didn't get up on the right foot, and it takes a little time to get the ball rolling. But, whatever the case may be, we're going to be patient and let them know that we're not going to pressure them. We're going to make them feel like, hey, it's important for us to get you from your home to where you're trying to go. So I think that's one of the things that kind of separates us from like a ride share company. And ride shares are great in their space, but we're talking about in senior care with the Silver Tsunami and with the non-emergency medical transport. I think this is something that can set things apart.
Awesome.
So yeah. So let me ask you a question, because look, she been letting me do a lot of talking. So I'm gonna ask her. I'm putting her on the hot seat, you all. So when it comes down like to admissions, and I think people sometimes are afraid of the process because sometimes what you don't know you fear, right? And it makes you like, oh well, I waited too late to do this for mom, and now Carrie is beginning to do this, or they may have regrets, or they may be having self-doubts in their mind, like I don't really understand the process. I don't really know if should I call this number? Should I call this? Like, how do you walk a family? Because I know when you're talking to them, you're getting all the stories. You kind of getting to know, like, wow, like you listening to them. So I just want to know, like, how do you really get a chance to like bridge that gap for those family members when they're trying to deal with, finding care for mom and dad?
Well, it's a two-way street, because most people don't know. Most people who call us for help is not the person themselves. It's normally the decision maker or the caregiver or the children. Those are the ones who are calling us. But we do it. I think we do a good job with trying to market in different areas. So we go to where the seniors are, and we go to where their children may be. So there's health fairs. We attend go and do lunch and learns with case managers, civic groups. We try to go out to the churches and attend their community events. So I think we just have to be everywhere to get the word out. But when people call us, those decision makers don't understand that there is a process for receiving care, or they've never had to deal with the senior care industry, so they don't know who to call, or they're on Google, they're coming to the office, they have questions. So I sit down and I tell them it's a process. If they're not able to pay for the services right out of pocket, they have to apply for different waivers. There's 2 waivers out there that we work really well with. The first one is the EDWP waiver, which stands for the Elderly and Disabled Waiver Program, and then we also have now a COMP. The individuals who qualify for that waiver have intellectual disabilities. So those are people with autism, cerebral palsy, things like that. So there's 2 waivers. And then the kicker is that it takes about 90 days or longer to get approved for those waivers. So if you know somebody who needs care, or if it's yourself, I advise you to plan ahead. Go ahead and apply for those waivers. One of those waivers, you can also receive many different services, and I do share this information. Whether you need someone to come into your home, you can receive Meals on Wheels. You can have there's structured family caregiving out there now, where if you're living in a home with someone and they need care, you can be paid to be their caregiver. So there's different services that you qualify for up under those programs, and of course Adult Day, which is what we do. So after I explain that process, it's just me staying in contact with those families for 90 days. For
90 days.
Yes.
Well, you dropped a lot of information there. You dropped some nuggets there. Let me ask a question though. So you mentioned one. You said it was the elderly and disabled waiver, and then you mentioned another one. You said now and come. So like, are there age requirements for either one of those? Like, do I have to be a certain age to qualify for both of them, or is it just based off of the diagnosis?
There's several different requirements, but the main thing it's income based. So it is income based. Also, there's 2 things you have to 2 types of, what am I trying to say, Lee?
2 types of income, or 2 types of what?
No, like the disabilities.
Those
chronic illnesses. So
yeah,
that's what it is. So you got to have 2 types of chronic illnesses, or 2 types of physical disabilities. There's a long list of illnesses. Number 1 is Alzheimer's, dementia. If you've ever had a stroke, hypertension, COPD, asthma, cancer. It's a long list of those. And then the physical disabilities, you may require a wheelchair, a walker, or a cane.
So like if I need help with somebody to help me cook, or if I need help somebody to help me clean up or put on my clothes, or if I need somebody to help take me to the bathroom, those kind of things. If I kind of fall into one of those categories, then I kind of qualify for those waivers.
Basically. So those people are pretty much at risk for going to a nursing home.
Gotcha.
So our day center is pretty much that step before the nursing home.
Yes.
So we are an option. You don't have to, if mom is not able to live by herself, then she can come to the day center during the day and we help her. Or you may work full time, so you're not able to be there with mom. She can come to the day center while you're at work. So
that's a bonus. That is a bonus, because sometimes, like say, people are working or they're trying to figure out, I don't want to put my responsibilities out on somebody else, or, how we're going to make this work. I know I have kids myself, or I know I'm working myself, and what is it though? They call it that sandwich generation, right? They kind of stack in between providing care for an older and a younger person. But it's like, well, there has to be an outlet. There has to be something available for me. And I like there was one more thing you said that I really like to stick a pin in, was when you were talking about like if you were, I think called it Strokes Your Family, and that I think that right there is like a game changer, because like I can take care of that person and I can get paid to take care of my loved one.
Yes.
Basically is what I'm getting from it.
And I get a lot of those calls, like people saying, they work full time and they're having to transition into work from home jobs so they can be there with mom. I have a client, she leaves lunch at 12 every day just to go home and make sure mom's getting her medication, or she's had a meal for, that time of the day. So structured I think that is a great solution for taking care of a loved one if you live there in the home or if you're not able to work.
But you said something there, like, with each one of those stories you just kind of laid out, there's not like a one shoe fits all. Like it depends on the person. Sounds like their situation, what they're doing. Like you have that person who has to leave work to come home to check on mom or dad. Then you may need, adult day or something. While you out at work, somebody can make sure those things are happening. Yes. Or you may not be working. You may be at home, but you want to get compensated to do the work that you're already doing.
Yes.
And so then maybe Strokes Your Family fits you. So, I think those are one of the things that sometimes people, questions they may have, and they just need to know, like, hey, there's somebody there that has that information I can talk to. So, yeah.
Well, so we got off track with we were talking about the two waivers.
That always happens, right? We always get off track and start talking about whatever.
So we kind of explained the requirements for the EDWP, the elderly and disabled waiver, and then the now comp, like I mentioned, those are people with intellectual disabilities, and like I said, but both of those waivers take about 90 days.
About 90 days, and look, you all, once that happens, then a lot of other things start happening on the backside, right? Once you even get in the door, then we have to start setting up. Usually my team takes it on. We kind of we get and it's kind of how we work together to make sure things kind of streamline, right? So I usually get an email or something from Kayla. She's telling me, hey, Mr. John Smith is going to be starting next Wednesday. He lives here. He uses a cane or a wheelchair. This is his address. And this is a good contact number for us. And then my team gets it and we pick up the ball and we run with it. And we say, hey, we go ahead and call John Smith caregiver. We're talking to them about pickup times, about, what's the best way to enter and exit the home. Do they like for us to pick up in the back, on the side? Where's the best entryway? Do they like a call before we come? So we just start having those conversations to make sure that first day is really smooth, right? So that first pickup goes like we want it to all go. And then we introduce them to their driver. Well, hey, this is who's going to be your driver. They should be here around this time. They'll be calling you. So a lot of things started happening to start building out that first day so that the services that they spent 90 days waiting to get, we can get on day one and have a good transition as far as getting them into the center.
And it also ties into how you mentioned, we're not Uber,
No.
So it makes me feel comfortable, if I have an admission and I tell them, we're going to pick up dad on Wednesday at 7:30. It makes me feel good knowing that transportation knows, this person diagnosis, do they have dementia, can they think for themselves, are they able to walk? So that makes me feel comfortable knowing that once I pass them off to your team, that person is going to be, well taken care of, and they're going to get from point A to point B safely.
Right. And I think that, like you said, it's a little difference between a ride share and then someone who is specialized in non-emergency medical transport. You know, our drivers go through a rigorous training on the back end just to even qualify to even provide this transportation. So yeah, it is.
Awesome.
That does my heart good to know that you all value what we do, and it does I hope it does your heart good to know that we really appreciate the hard work that it takes to even get a person in the door so that they can get access to service. Because it's one thing to obtain and get on the waivers, and it's another thing to access it. So I think it's kind of like a glove in hand. They work together. Well, cool. Well, cool. Well, if there's nothing else, Kelly, you have anything else you want to share with our viewers? If viewers, you have any comments? I see some people dropping some comments in the information in the comment. Thank you, Miss Thomas. I see you there, Miss Lena Thomas. Great information. We appreciate you for sharing that with us. Thank you for letting us know that what we're sharing with you is very valuable and worth your time. I really appreciate that. And we wanted to come on this afternoon and share something with you all from our perspective, from behind the scenes, that we get a chance to see each and every day, that we feel like is helpful in your decision making and understanding of the things that, you know, transportation companies and adult day services they look at.
Yes. Well, if we don't have any questions, nothing for us in the comments.
Look, I'm gonna say this: if you're watching this on the replay, or, you know, someone shared this to you and you're watching it, you know, we go back and watch. We go back and look at the comments and stuff like that. Drop some comments in there and ask some questions so we can, you know, things you may have seen that you noticed in the industry that you feel like, oh, I had this experience and I wish it was better. Or, oh man, you know, I've tried to obtain a service before, and you know, I didn't get a return call back. Or hey, I tried to get a ride scheduled for my mom or dad, and they had to wait 30 minutes for the ride, or they just left them. You know, whatever experience you have had, drop that in the comment. We want to hear about it. We want to talk about it, and we want to see if we can bring some solutions to the table for you. Okay. All right. Well, if there's nothing else, guys, we're gonna exit off. All right.
All right.
All right. We out. See y'all. Y'all have a good night.
Bye-bye.